The Joe Rogan Experience.
And if you get a person who's not an actor to be themselves, they're better than actors. You know, I've always found that. I've cast people in movies that have never been in one before. I just don't tell them we're rolling. I really don't. In Sling Blade, the guy, Rick Dial, who played the guy that ran the Fix-It shop, the kind of big guy, I went to school with him since the third grade. And I always thought, this guy could be an actor, you know. And when we did the first scene with him there in his shop, when Jimmy Hampton brought me over there and said, "This is Carl, he's going to work here," and all that stuff, you know, I just went to Rick and I said, "Dude," and Brent Briscoe, who played Scooter, the guy that could never fix anything, and I said, "Look, Rick, the camera crew, they don't have their shit together. You know," I said, "they're going to have to get some marks and do a bunch of stuff, so this is not on us. So we're going to run this scene, but we're not really filming it. Just say the dialogue. If you fuck something up, don't worry about it." He was letter perfect. Once we started saying action and shit, then all of a sudden it got a little different. Most stuff in Sling Blade was the first take.
Wow.
Yeah. And
because
yeah.
he's relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pressure of the moment. Action. Action's
yeah.
a crazy word.
I hate it. I don't even, usually when I'm directing, I don't direct much anymore. But when I do, I just kind of say, well, you know, you guys go whenever you're ready, you know. But then you have ADs and PAs out there on their radios and shit, and they're all screaming shit, and it's like, yeah, don't disrupt the flow here. Just let the cats do it, you know. I mean, Clint Eastwood has been known to say, you know, jokingly, but instead of cut, he sometimes, an actor I know worked with Clint, and he said when Clint was satisfied with the scene, he just goes, "Okay, that's enough of that shit," instead of cut. But
what was the process of like deciding to do Sling Blade? Like, how did you know? You're obviously trying to find a vehicle for yourself, and they're not offering it to you, so you create it yourself. But like, what was the process? Like, how did you decide to do that guy? Like, what was it?
It's a story that nobody believes. I've told it a couple of times, and nobody believes it, and it's the absolute truth. I was doing one scene. I think there were two scenes, but it was one of them was cut out of the thing. I think it was an HBO movie or something. It starred Val Kilmer, and I was playing a railroad conductor in the 1920s. It was based on an old movie with Paul Muni called "I'm a Fugitive from a Chain Gang," old movie from, I guess, the 30s. And they remade it and called it "The Man Who Broke 1,000 Chains." I played a railroad conductor who had like a wool fucking thing on for the 20s, and they had the whole 20s haircut with the sides pretty much shaved off, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And we're shooting in Riverside, California, at this old railroad museum. And an old director named Daniel Mann, who directed Tea House of the August Moon with Brando and some other movies, he'd come out of retirement to do this. He was an old cat. As a matter of fact, he was so old school that when I went to read for him, there was a casting director named Kathy Henderson who was always good to me. So she'd always get me in to see the director. And he was sitting there behind the desk. He had a little gray goatee and glasses. And I just talked to him for a few minutes, and then I read a couple of lines with him. It's just me and him. And he literally said, "Kid, I got a part for you in this picture." And it was like, what am I? What is that, Louis Mayer? Who the fuck was I just talking to, you know? And so they put me in the thing. And this was in the 80s. And I'm burning up. You know, Riverside, California, it's hotter than shit out there. It was in the summer. So I'm in a wool suit with a conductor hat on and just sweating my ass off. And I go in, and this was in the days when I was still in a honey wagon. So there's just a little tiny room, you know, a little bathroom and a little couch just like that wide. And at lunch, I went in and I put the air conditioner on. I took that conductor hat off. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, you sorry son of a bitch, you're never going to make it doing any of this shit. Music, movies, nothing. You're just, why are you out here, to make, $300 or $400 for a day and Val Kilmer's the big star and you're just some idiot with a couple of lines, And I literally made that face in the mirror at myself.
Wow.
Made the face, and I started talking in that voice because I was so in a moment of self-loathing that I literally started going at myself in the mirror. I did that monologue to the girl that's the college student who comes to interview me in the beginning of the movie. It's like a 9-minute monologue. I did that monologue in the mirror to myself right there and never wrote it down. And I can remember it to this day. Because I have all these weird afflictions. I have terrible anxiety and have obsessive compulsive disorder really bad. And grew up dyslexic and, kind of an edge of the spectrum kind of guy. And I always had the ability to remember stuff. I have a photographic memory. I'm dumb as a bag of hair in every other aspect of life, but I have a photographic memory. And even if it's not something I read on a page, it's up here. And so I remembered that monologue. And then I realized that I was talking about certain things that were actually in my life. The idea of him living out back in this shed, just sleeping in a hole back there, and the family would bring him his food and stuff like he was a creature and stuff like that. That was based on a guy in Alpine, Arkansas that lived there. The story was that his mother was scared by a snake when she was pregnant, old,
Right.
Southern lore shit. And, or the father was drunk when he was conceived, but actually he had polio, and was what the real deal was. He walked funny, he talked funny and everything. So Carl is largely based on a combination of this guy, Ed, in our town, and Frankenstein, Frankenstein and the kid and the sort of not knowing any better,
Yeah.
And, it's like I was told by the parents in the Bible, it says, if you see some, like sex is bad or whatever it was, he sees his mother with his cat, Jessie Dixon, and he kills her. She told him to do that, So that's where it all came from. And I started doing it as part of a one-man show in the theater back in the late 80s. And from that one-man show, that whole character was born. And then I wrote a short film, and we did that. And that's why I got Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar, was from that. It wasn't, it was my original screenplay, but it was adapted from my own thing. And so that's how that came about.
So when you went to do a one-man show, did you ever think that you want to make it into a film, or was it just like, I want to put this on its legs and just whatever this idea I have in my head, I want to make something out of it?
At that time, when I was doing it in the theater, I didn't think much beyond that. A couple of years later, I started thinking about it. And I thought, that's the story. And I knew the story before I ever wrote it. I wrote it in 9 days. And my oldest son, Willie, was actually on my lap most of the time while I was writing on paper, because I don't know how to type. And so I just wrote it on, paper, like a tablet like that, And eventually, we made that little short, and then these guys that made the short wanted to make it into a feature, but they had this whole other idea about it, they wanted to show what happened when I was a kid and show me murdering the mother. I said, yeah, that's the wrong thing to do, so I made it myself. And I directed a documentary on Widespread Panic, the band out of Athens, Georgia, and Colonel Bruce Hampton, but that's the only directing experience I'd had, and I didn't know shit about it. But I knew the story, and I got Barry Markowitz, my DP, and, got some guys and asked John Ritter, who I was working with at the time, you want to play a gay guy from St. Louis who moves to a little town in Millsburg? And he goes, yeah, I'll do it. None of us thought this thing was going to do what it did. I thought my mom and my brothers and people like that would see it, and that was it. And it became
Fucking
iconic.
huge.
Yeah.
Well, how weird was that for
Very
you?
weird. Very weird. Yeah. I mean, when they say overnight success, that literally was the moment. I mean, I had a name within the movie business from this movie called One False Move that we did in 90 or so, 89 or 90. But so people were already had made deals to write screenplays for various studios and stuff. But and I was getting acting work here and there. But when I did Sling Blade, it literally, I woke up one morning and I was not only a millionaire, but hugely popular. And it freaked me out. I mean, I appreciated every moment of it. But really, when you're going through those times, it's such a blur, how quickly it happened and everything that, I mean, to this day, I think back on it, and think, huh? How the hell did this?
How the fuck?
Get here? And I don't think you could get that movie made now. I think a lot of movies that I've done, you couldn't get them made now. I don't think there's an audience that would either tolerate it or be interested in it, because most of my writing is based on novelists and not screenwriters. I've stayed out of Hollywood my whole career pretty much, other than the high-profile relationships maybe, other than that, I haven't associated with Hollywood much. And it was just, thinking back and going, how did I become a movie star? Shit.
I think you could do it today because I don't think anybody had ever done it when you did it.
No, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. But I think because maybe, well, see, Sling Blade, first of all, it's not a comedy. There's funny stuff in it. But a lot of people come up to me and they say, man, that Carl, he's funnier than shit. And it's like, well, if you think about what it's really about, it's not that funny. But I just think because of the climate, it's like, well, is he making fun of a mentally challenged guy, Bad Santa? I mean, it's like you can't be that crass anymore or whatever.